Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. I really do appreciate it. Now in my previous video, I talked about some of the ships that cannot be acquired using the free tier 6 ship tokens from this year's event campaign. Now if you haven't watched that video, I will leave it linked down below. Go ahead and take a look at that one if you'd like. But today I want to talk about some of the ships that you can acquire with it, and specifically my top 10 that I would pick this time around. Now, I am not a shipbuilding expert by any means. I am not super high on the DPS or the meta, things like that. Now, not to say that I don't have ships that perform very, very well. I've learned from other content creator friends how to build some ships, but I'm not big into the whole theory crafting of getting the most out of your ship. I just don't have the time to do the maths or to go on some supported runs in TFOs to be able to do that. So if you have the time to do it, great, fantastic. I just don't happen to be one of those people. Usually I just do random TFOs, and it works fine. I mean, the stuff that I do for the stuff that I do, I really enjoy building all kinds of ships, and sometimes I just do things that are a little bit more role playing than anything else, right? So sometimes you just want to play on the Enterprise, right, and be pretend you're the captain of the Enterprise, whether that ship is good or not. So that being said, take what I say with a grain of salt. But I think some of these are very helpful, specifically to players who maybe don't have a lot of ships and are just coming back or just starting off. And I think some of these ships might be actually helpful to those players. So without further ado, let me go right into it, all right? And let's start off with some Federation ships. Now, I do actually have some ships that are not Federation on this list, but let's start off with the Federation ones. We're going to look at Arbiter, the Arbiter Battlecruiser. I'm not the only person who says this. Anybody who's a content creator usually says this. As a content creator for Star Trek Online will let you know that the Arbiter Battlecruiser should probably be the first, if not one of the first ships that you purchase in this game. There's a reason for that. First of all, the layout's not bad. You have 5 forward weapons, you got 3 aft, and also the trait is very good on the ship. Emergency weapons cycle. The Starship trait, basically what it does, it gives you -50 to weapons power cost for 30 seconds on emergency powered weapons. So emergency powered weapons is a bridge officer ability that you click. So once you click emergency powered weapons, if you have this Starship trait also enabled, then you're going to get a -50% weapon reduction cost for 30 seconds. So it will cost half as much for your weapons, the amount of power that your weapons need, basically. And also, it will give you 20% fire cycle haste to energy weapons for 30 seconds. What does that mean? That means that they'll fire 20% faster, which means they'll do more damage because they're firing at a faster rate. Combine that with also the reduction in power cost to those weapons. Basically, your weapons will hit at their hardest for longer, basically. Because as the power goes down, the effectiveness basically of your shots goes down as well. At least that's my understanding of it. So yeah, definitely the Arbiter Battlecruiser is one of those ships that you probably want to go ahead and get right away. Let's look at the next ship. The next ship I have on my list is the Gagarin Miracle Worker Battlecruiser. Now this ship is one of those that is good for the trait as well. The trait on this ship is the Entwined Tactical Matrices, but it's also a Miracle Worker Battlecruiser. So you have a 5-3 weapons layout. 5-3 weapons layout is really great. If you're doing directed energy weapon builds, 5-3 is probably, these days, I think, would probably be the optimum. Also, it has a little bit more survivability, but as being a Miracle Worker ship, you also have a special type of quantum slipstream drive. The amount of time that it can be up for as you're going through sector space is 90 seconds, I believe. So normally every ship has the ability to use quantum slipstream drives on their ships and go a little bit faster in sector space, but it only lasts for 30 seconds. With a Miracle Worker ship, it's a little bit different. It lasts the effect lasts for 90 seconds. So basically 3 times, right? So that's fantastic, especially if you are trying to farm some energy credits doing the tour of the galaxy. So for people who are just playing the game and trying to gain some EC, having a ship that's a miracle worker ship can be very helpful to you. All right. I'm not even looking at the console on this. I can't remember what the console is, but it's refracting energy shunt. I don't think that there's anything to write home about with this type of console. So basically, it's going to be really for the Starship trait, and the ship itself is pretty good as a energy build weapon. Now it is a bit slow. The training radius or the training rate is pretty slow, so don't expect this ship to go really fast. I like the look of it. You also get the Shepherd skin on it, which is from like a Discovery era ship, so you get both of those things. Oh, actually, you also get the Gagarin mirror universe look as well with the mirror universe colors on it. So if you want to play like you're a captain from the mirror universe, that's kind of cool to have. Next ship, we're going to take a look at the Buran Command Dreadnought Cruiser. Now, if you are looking to do a tank build, then this is the ship, one of the ships for you. It's still really good. It's still really good for tanking. It looks nice, in my opinion. I really like the quad nacelle look. 4 nacelles, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom there. I like the look of the saucer section, a little bit like an axe look to it. It's really cool. You also get the Cardenas. It is also from kind of like the Discovery era look to it. Some people I know prefer this one, but for me, I prefer the Buran look to it. This ship is a 4-4, so 4 weapons, 4 rear weapons. It has a console that's okay. It's the Ion Storm generator. I've used it before. Basically, it provides a passive boost to hull capacity and shield capacity, so it'll help a little bit more with survivability. But also the clicky on it, when activated, it makes the ship the conduit of an ion storm, and the electrical bolts will zap your ship from your ship at any enemy nearby for the next several seconds, dealing electrical damage. The target hits multiple times will additionally suffer from an electric dot. So damage over time, basically. So yeah, it's kind of neat to have that console for a little extra survivability passively, and also for a little bit extra damage actively. So when you click on it. Unified Engineering is a Starship trait that could be helpful if you're doing coordinated runs or just with teams in general, because if you have the bridge officer ability, auxiliary to structural, um, once you click that, you'll get a plus 10 to the maximum hull capacity for 15 seconds to your team, plus 10% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities, plus 10% flight turn rate, plus 10% flight speed, and plus 50% hull regen. So more survivability again, a little bit extra maneuverability, recharge time of bridge officer abilities so that your abilities are accessible a little bit faster. So that's nice to have. Base turn radius is 6. Uh, so don't expect this ship to be zipping around the map with this ship unless you plan to use a lot of your console slots to try to find ways to make the ship go faster. All right, so that's the Buran Command Dreadnought Cruiser. Next, we're going to look at the Da Vinci. The Da Vinci Miracle Worker Escort. So the first few ships are a little bit slow. They don't have the fastest turning radius. They hit pretty well though, and this one does too, but it is a faster ship. So the Da Vinci Miracle Worker Escort is going to be pretty fast. So the base turn rate is 16 on this one, and it has a 4-3 weapons layout. I wish it was a 5-3, but I'll take a 4-3. That's fine too. It has a universal console slot automatically that comes on this ship, as well as an experimental weapon slot. Now, because it is a Miracle Worker, also, just remember that the Miracle Worker ships have that special quantum slipstream drive, which allow the quantum slipstream to be up for 90 seconds. So you'll be able to take advantage of that as well. Let's take a look at the weapon. The weapon is a Gatling emitter. Basically, it is a energy weapons Gatling gun on this ship. It looks like one. Kind of think of which are those planes? The C-130s or C-150s? I can't remember what they're called. Um, But basically, they have this big old Gatling gun on the side of them, and those will shoot down at the enemy from up high and do a lot of damage. So, same kind of concept on this one. And it's okay as far as the amount of damage it does. It's not like the best, but you know, it's better than nothing. And when you're starting off and you don't have a ton of stuff, it's really, it's kind of nice to have. So the trait on this ship is energy overdrive, movement and beam damage from beam firing modes. So specifically beam firing modes. So if you're doing, say, a cannon scatter volley or cannon rapid fire build on this ship, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this particular Starship trait. It only works with beams or the beam firing mode, so that would be beam overload and beam fire at will. I think there are a couple of other ones, but basically those. Once you hit that ability, like say beam overload, then you will have a 100% flight speed for 10 seconds, 100% turn rate for 10 seconds, and a plus 10% or a 10% plus 10% chance to. No, I'm sorry. I'm not reading that correctly. Between plus 10% to, I'm guessing, plus 50% all damage with energy weapons for 10 seconds. I'm trying to look at what the menu says here, and that's a little bit confusing to me. I think it's between 10 and 50% all damage with energy weapons for 10 seconds. I'm thinking. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, as I'm reading this, I got confused. So correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me how this energy overdrive thing works for the damage with directed energy weapons. But you know, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to see, for example, if you have a cruiser and you're using a fire at will on that one or beam overload on that one, and you need a little bit of extra maneuverability, having this energy overdrive Starship trait might be a good idea for that. Might help a little bit, anyways. So another nice thing is the way that it looks. I like the way the Da Vinci looks itself, but I really like that you could use a saber skin on it. It's really nice. And the newly minted rapier designed by Pundus in the game, very nice. I think when it was happening, it was gonna give the look of the Lost Era or something like that. So very nice look to the ship now. The new rapier class look to it. I like it. So that is the Da Vinci Miracle Worker Escort. Let's move on to the Tactical Star Cruiser. So let's say that you wanted to play as the Enterprise F. Hey, this is a ship or one of the ships that you could get and do that. Now, I know that it doesn't look like it from the picture right now, but as you can see, if you go to Variants, you'll be able to click on Odyssey and have it look like the Enterprise F on there. Very nice to have the ability to do that. Those are the only two skins that are unlocked if you purchase this ship by itself, and you don't have any of the other variants of these ships purchased. So just be aware of that. But it's nice that you don't have to stick with just the Endeavor look. You can go ahead and have the actual Odyssey look, which is really cool. Let's take a look at some of the details of the ship. This is a 4-4 weapons layout, so 4 forward weapons, 4 aft weapons. It is a cruiser. The base turn rate is slow. It's a 6 to begin with, but it will take a hit. Also, the Starship trait on this one is called Supercharged Weapons. It's very good. If you like to use at least one torpedo in your ship builds, then this Starship trait is going to be good because upon firing a torpedo, it'll grant 1 stack of what's called Supercharged Buff. And once it's supercharged, which could stack up to 3 times, directed energy weapons, they gain a plus 10% damage for 20 seconds, a plus 1.5 critical chance for 20 seconds, and a plus 6.6 critical severity for 20 seconds, which will just let your weapons hit harder, which is really nice. So yeah, pretty good trait to have. And again, all you have to do is stick a torpedo onto your ship. If you're one of those people that like that and don't just do the energy weapons, then I know I do that on most of my ships. I like to have a torpedo, so that's actually a really good trait to have. I might actually pick this one up for myself with one of my 2 coupons. All right, next we're taking a look at the Terran. Oh, wait. Before I move on, the console on that ship is really good too, actually. So let me go back, Tactical Star Cruiser here. So the console on this one is the, see, it's the flagship tactical computer. Yeah, flagship tactical computer universal console. When activated, the console's ability will provide a substantial increase to flight speed, turn rate, and weapons firing rate for your team for a short time. I think it affects you as well. So it's kind of nice to have, right? Especially if you have a slow ship, to have something that'll increase your flight speed and turn rate, as well as the how fast your weapons fire. Again, the faster your weapons fire, the more damage you're doing in a shorter amount of time, which is very nice. It also has some passive bonuses, which are to your directed energy damage, at allowing you to do a little bit more directed energy damage, which is nice. So good console, good space trait, nice looking ship, especially if you want an Odyssey class look to it. So really decent, nice ship to have if you're just starting off. All right, next the Terran Lexington. This is if you want basically an upgraded version of that ship. This is the ship that you'd want. The only thing is that you're losing on the Starship trait and that console, so you won't be able to have that same thing with this ship. However, the ship itself is a little bit better, and you have a lot more options as far as costumes, because you have the Lexington mirror look to it. You have of course, the Odyssey. You have the Lexington with the non-mirror version, basically the Federation livery on it, and so it looks really nice. You also get the Yorktown mirror look to it, which is kind of cool. So all those four different types of skins for this ship are going to be enabled when you purchase this ship. Now, I'm not so sure about the trait. I haven't used it. I'm not sure if it's any good. If any of you have experience with that, using this trait, then go ahead and leave it down below. It does have one hangar bay, which is really nice. So the hangar bay is nice to have, especially with all the new ships, or basically the little hangars, pet ships that we've had in the game lately. So it's cool to have that as well. All right, moving on. Now we're going to take a look at some of the non-Federation ships on my list. I'm trying to go as a little bit fast just because this video could be very, very long if I take too long talking about these, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So here we got the MatHa Raptor. And this is a ship that I would choose if I were just starting off and I didn't have any Klingon ships in my inventory. It's just a nice ship. I like playing with this one. I have it on my main account. This is currently my free-to-play account, but I have a main account where I have a lot of these ships, and I just have a lot of fun playing with this one. It is zippy, so the base turn rate on this is 15. It has an experimental weapon slot. It also has 5 forward weapons, 2 aft. So that's kind of nice to have five forward weapons on this one. Actually, let me see. The console that it has is called the Disruptor Spinal Cannon. So basically, it works kind of like a spinal lance on some of these ships. The previous ship, the Lexington, does have a spinal lance, so that's a nice little feature to have. Basically, a big beam weapon comes out of it. In this case, for this Klingon ship, it has Disruptor Spinal Cannon, but it's a console, so it's not really built in, but it's just, if you have the console on here, you'll be able to use it as a big cannon, basically, that comes through the front of this ship and does some damage. Now, the passives on this are passive bonus to disruptor weapon damage. So as long as you have disruptor weapons on this, if you're using that console, it'll add a little bit of bonus to the amount of damage that your disruptor weapons will do with this ship. So it's kind of neat, kind of nice. I really like just the design of it. I like the look of it, and I like the way that it plays within the game. It has a Starship trait that I don't think I've ever used, called Overwhelming Force. If you're doing torpedo high yield or a beam overload, it'll add some extra damage, seems like, to those bridge officer abilities if you have this slotted. If anybody's used that and can tell me a little bit more about it in the comments, go ahead, leave it down below for the community. All right, let's move on to the Romulan faction. Now, in this one, it's kind of a little bit of a cheat, really, because while it is in the Romulan faction, it's not actually a Romulan ship. So we're going to take a look at the Silik. Suliban Silik Flight Deck Assault Carrier. This is still a very good ship in the game. I know a lot of people like it. This is a 5-3 weapons layout, 5 forward, 3 aft. Very good for directed energy weapons. But I think some people may do torpedo builds on this. I'm not sure. The base turn rate isn't horrible. It's not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest. And it has 2 hangar bays on it. So we're looking, it's like a battle cruiser, kind of right with that 5-3 layout, but also it has 2 hangar bays, which is really cool. So yeah, you can multiply your firepower quite a bit potentially. The trait on this is called majority and minority. Again, I don't think I've ever used this. Feel free to pause the video here and read through this. But yeah, I don't think I've ever used that. The nice thing about this ship too is that you can go ahead and use standard warp core on it. You don't have to use one of the singularity cores on this ship. The console, I know some people really like it. It's called the IFF manipulator. This sensor scrambling device will confuse all foes near the targeted enemy's location, then set that targeted foe as a preferred target of their own allies. The primary target of this ability will also have its damage resistance reduced by an amount inversely proportionate to the number of confused enemies. The fewer confused, the stronger the debuff. That's really nice to debuff your enemy targets and have their damage resistance reduced, because then you could hit them harder with your weapons. The console also provides a passive boost to engineering readiness. So engineering readiness means any of your engineering abilities, bridge officer abilities, I think also, as well as your innate abilities. If you're like an engineer, I believe that's included as well, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with at least with the bridge officer abilities. Also, critical severity with energy weapons. So it's nice to have extra critical severity with your energy weapons just by having that console on there. So, pretty decent console. Not so sure about the Starship trait, but the fact that it's a 5-3 weapons layout and it has 2 hangar bays on it, it uses, and I prefer to use standard warp core versus the singularity cores personally. I like it. I like it quite a bit. It has 2 tactical bridge officer slots too, which is kind of cool. So it's a neat ship to have. Now, I know it's not a standard Romulan ship. It just happens to be in the Romulan faction, but looking through that whole list, this is probably the ship that I would get. Let's take a look at the Jem'Hadar ships. So the thing about the Jem'Hadar ships, just so you're aware, is that you do have to use this ship initially on a Jem'Hadar character, because they're not unlocked for any of the other factions in your account automatically. You have to level up the ship with the Jem'Hadar character first, and once you reach level, I believe it's 6, with these ships, it unlocks for your entire account and for all the characters, whether that's Federation, Klingon, Romulans, then you'll be able to use these ships. But initially, you do have to just kind of use this on a Jem'Hadar character. So, assuming that you have one of those, then you'll have no problems using this ship. The nice thing about it is that it has a 5-3 weapons layout again. It has a pretty decent turn rate. The base turn rate is 12.5. Survivability is okay. It has a ton of tactical slots, console slots on here. I can't remember what the console is. Let me look that up real quick. It comes equipped with a power dispersal channel universal console. Activating the ability will briefly drain a large amount of your power levels and disable your starship. That doesn't sound great. But it'll unleash a devastating burst of radiation and a long wide cone in front of your starship. Foes unfortunate enough to be caught in this blast will suffer extreme radiation damage and have their power levels slowly drain over time. The console also provides a passive bonus to drain expertise, critical severity, and healing critical severity. I guess healing when you're critically hit, I guess, is what that refers to. So the passives might be okay on it. I don't know about the clicky, but one of the nice things about the Jem'Hadar ships is that you have the Wingman mechanic. What that means is that when this ship is in space, you will have 2 small escort ships that pilot right alongside you and help you do damage as you're fighting your foes. Also, you can manually have them heal your ship, either your shields or your hull, as well as focus attacking a specific target. So that's a really nice thing to have, especially when you're just starting off and you're doing like patrols and you're at the lower levels. That Wingman mechanic really comes in handy, so it's really neat to have. I would go with this ship if you can. Then we have the non-aligned ship. This is our last ship on the list. This is the Cardassian Intel Flight Deck Carrier, Ghemor class. This ship can be used with any faction. And the reason for this ship is, I know it looks kind of funky, right? It's a little bit weird. Cardassian aesthetics are definitely an acquired taste. But the turn rate on this ship is not horrible. It's not the worst. It's got a base turn rate of 8.5, 5 forward weapons, 3 aft. Again, very nice. But the big reason is to get this one for me is the Starship trait called Calm Before the Storm. Now, this is a very nice Starship trait. Used a lot by a lot of people who want to do extra damage with their directed energy weapons. So, basically, while in combat, you gain 1 calm stack every 2 seconds. And then each stack of calm gives you +5 all damage resistance rating, which is nice, so it'll help with your survivability a little bit, right? And then at 10 stacks, you gain storm for 20 seconds. So it will take you 20 seconds, basically, of being in combat before you gain the 10 stacks. So once you get the 10 stacks, you gain what's called storm for 20 seconds. And when you gain storm, what you get is it removes all stacks of calm, so you're starting from scratch after that. But at that point, it'll give you +33 firing cycle haste for energy weapons for 20 seconds. And also, bridge officer abilities recharge 33% faster for those 20 seconds. So it's nice to have because usually, you're in combat for at least a little bit more than 20 seconds sometimes, especially if you're fighting something like the Vaudoir or something like that, right? So you'll be getting at least one time this 10 stack of storm, which will increase the firing cycle of your weapons, and it will recharge your bridge officer abilities 33% faster. And that's always nice to have. So that's the last ship on my list of 10 ships that I would pick with my coupons, or I would consider picking with my my tier 6 coupons that I got from this year's event. Now, for me personally, I think what I'm going to go for is the Tactical Star Cruiser Endeavor class, just because I really want that the Starship trait and the console of this ship. It doesn't hurt that I'll have my first Odyssey class unlocked for all my characters. That's kind of nice too. And then the second ship will probably be this Cardassian Intel Flight Deck Carrier Ghemor class. It's a decent ship by itself, but I really want this Calm Before the Storm Starship trait for unlocked on my account. So that'll be nice to have. Let me know which ones you're planning to choose. Let me know if you liked this list or if you hated it down below in the comments section. I will also have this list down there in case you just kind of want to read through it again, so you don't have to go back and watch the video all over again. That way you could just go back and reference the ships right there in the comment or in the description of the video. I hope that's helpful to y'all. If you want to spend your coupons on some ships that are a little bit more canon, if you are just going for something like just some immersion within the game and some role playing, then I have a video for you. That'll probably be the next video where I'll go over which ships you should get if you're trying to just kind of immerse yourself in the Star Trek canon and role playing. All right. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it hasn't been too long. Thank you guys so much for commenting on the last video. I really appreciate y'all. I do understand the frustrations that a lot of you have voiced with these T6 coupons. I hope this has been a little bit helpful, at least to give you some other options that might work for you. If they don't, I feel for you. I do. I understand. I was hoping to get some of the newer stuff too myself, and I'm not going to be able to just because I don't have the money for it. So I get the frustration, and probably one of my next videos is going to be just kind of addressing some of the communication faux pas that we've had with Star Trek Online. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Thanks so much for being here. If you liked the video, leave a like down below. Leave a comment if you'd like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. And until next time, live long and prosper. And thanks again.